I've done the most powerful versions of a lot of different dinosaurs for a while now, some of which need a part 2 or at least a remake. But aside from which individuals are the strongest of their own species, what dinosaurs are the strongest period? We've gotten a lot of different interpretations of dinosaurs in movies and series, with a lot of them being actually pretty powerful. However, the dinosaurs in this video would wipe some of the dinosaurs you're thinking about off the map. That's right folks, from omnipresent eldritch entities that can change your perception of reality, to almost immortal crash house that could be dropped from Mount Everest type heights and just shake it off. We're going to be looking at the strongest dinosaurs in cinema history. Just for clarification, these are dinosaurs from movies or series, so no games. I'll do that in a separate video. Oh, and another thing, no robots. Now you know what I'm gonna say, just put it in the bag bro. Hit that subscribe button, it allows me to keep making videos like this for you guys. And like I always say, if you don't like the content, you could always take back your subscription. Alrighty, I think that should be enough for introductions. Let's do a deep dive into the strongest dinosaurs we've seen on film. No, this isn't a joke. As a matter of fact, Barney is unironically the strongest one here, or the second depending on how you look at it. Most people just view Barney as some mascot that sings and dances with kids and throws the occasional magic trick, but this guy is actually broken. I saw in one of those Who is Strongest videos where Barney was against Rexy, and someone in the comments said Rexy wins no diff. I wanted to reply, but I don't think the comment would have stayed up long, considering YouTube's guidelines. Barney would snap Rexy out of existence like Thanos if he wanted to, and any other Jurassic franchise creature as a matter of fact. Barney was one of those shows I watched as a kid up until I was like 9, and I never really thought about it much. But sometime last year when I watched back one of the movies with my little cousin, some things don't add up. Like, how is he able to change matter and how we view reality as a whole? Barney himself says that he is 200 million years old, which predates the T-Rex he's supposed to be based on. He existed when some of the first dinosaurs were only now starting to appear, like the Coelophysis. One of Barney's most notable abilities is him being able to manifest into our world. Once Barney is called upon by a child, he is able to come back from whatever part of the universe he's in to that specific area. Now there could be a chance where this operates somewhat like a genie lamp, but instead of a lamp, it's Barney as a doll. I don't think he's tied to the doll like Annabelle or anything, but instead that shell is just a visual marker most kids can see and even pick up, which makes it easier for him to be called upon. As a matter of fact, I think that he could be a dog, dragon, or spider if that's what the kids believe him to be instead of a big pink dinosaur. He's something like Pennywise in that he's a cosmic parasite, but instead of fear he lives off the happiness of children. It's a bit weird, but considering what he can do if he wanted to be malicious, it's the best option for the world. The guy surpasses Earth's physics and disregards our world's reality, making cars fly and turning a piece of wood into a functioning airplane that can stay in the air as long as he wants, and also traveling dimensions. Oh, you didn't know? Well, Barney can take children and probably anything else he wants to different parts of the universe, or whatever dimension he has stored up in his pocket. In one episode, he was able to pull the subconscious of all the kids into another place when they were all asleep for a little song and dance. And in another episode, he teleports all of them physically to a beach. It's not clear as to whether or not it's a beach in this world, or one of his many pocket dimensions. But we do know it was real because when one of the kids came back home, their parents found a bucket with sand and seashells. Now after that episode, the parents were never seen again after, so I don't know if Barney thought that they were catching on to his existence and he decided to, you know. That's another thing he can do, make people disappear. In Barney's Great Adventure, when some of the choir members weren't really feeling Barney singing and were being sticks in the mud, they vanished off the stage in between shots, just like that. Bam, gone. The only people he seems to allow to know of his existence are kids, adults who knew him when they were kids, and the elderly, because no one's gonna believe some old lady if they make a report of an 8-foot tall humanoid that took their grandkids away in a rocket. Barney can also summon other beings or at least form illusions that are extremely realistic. In the movie, the kids stumble upon a massive house in the middle of nowhere where they meet this weird bird lady who seems to have known Barney like forever. I'm sure that at some point in time someone would have noticed this place and it would have been on the news, but instead it seemingly only showed up when the kids were in that area. And that lady might not be a lady at all, so to speak. He could also control, well, you. Because even as the kids are angry in Barney's Great Adventure, when he sings, their legs cross and they make similar movements in sync without them even knowing that they're doing it. I mean, it would make sense because it won't be good for a being that lives off of joy to have sad kids next to him. Cody was probably the biggest victim of this movie, man. The dude was the only sane one. Since the entire movie he tries his best to discredit Barney and believe he's not real. But eventually Barney gets to him too, and Cody becomes another kid Barney can now make happy whenever he wants. At the end we see Baby Bop turn invisible and then just vanish or return to wherever it is they live. I imagine Barney can do a lot more than that since, you know, he's the strongest. He's basically omnipresent, something like Alucard at the end of Hellsing, where he can be everywhere and nowhere. Because let's be honest, with how many kids know of Barney's existence, he'd have to visit kids from all around the globe at the same time in some instances. Lastly, the single most common thing he does is read minds. He can read your thoughts and adjust the environment to lighten the mood without you even saying anything. I mean, yeah, he sometimes asks you, but that's just a form of conversation. In the movie, he was able to stop a baby's cry almost instantly, which is something even the grandparents couldn't do. I could go on and on Barney's abilities, like making a dog play a guitar, summoning a functioning rocket ship, and then going to outer space, but the vid would be too long. If you want an in-depth review, go check out this video by Tomska and friends, who cover all of Barney's outrageous abilities. And if you're saying, well, Rexy or any other dinosaur would just bite Barney in half, well, yeah, they almost certainly could, but Barney will just re-manifest right back in the same place. And since he can read thoughts, control your actions, and has his own dimensions he can carry other entities to, he just throw whoever or whatever into that dimension and trap them there, or even make them hallucinate their greatest fears, because if you're not a child, Barney probably doesn't care what happens to you. Stepping down from the reality bending and dimension teleporting, we have another dinosaur who doesn't have those abilities, but when you're the biggest theropod ever shown in a movie, you don't tend to need anything else. Rudy was a force to be reckoned with. As a matter of fact, he was a force no one could have messed with in a full-on fight, unless you were the crack weasel, but even he didn't take Rudy head on. He's a monstrous baryonyx. His teeth are more wide and less pointy sharp like the real version, that needed those teeth to catch fish, and his hands were positioned in such a way where he could hold large prey in place and tear them to shreds with his sickles for claws. Rudy is the biggest theropod ever shown in a movie or a TV series, unless there is one of those old-timey movies or some other series that I didn't see. Some people tend to underestimate his size to make him seem smaller than he actually is. Now, this isn't any hate whatsoever to whoever made this chart. I think it's actually pretty good. But both Manny and Rudy are clearly smaller than what they're supposed to be. The comparison of Manny and Rudy's size is accurate, but the real life creatures being compared to them aren't. Mapusaurus is 7 tons, or 9 tons max if we include those rare fossil fragments. Manny is confirmed to be 10 tons in the first movie and 11th in the fourth. So we'll just say under 11 in Ice Age 3. A 10-ton mammoth should not look that small next to a Mapusaurus, who is lighter. I know length doesn't always determine weight, but you can clearly see the Mapusaurus is larger overall, and would be between 12 and 14 tons if compared to the 10-ton Manny in that chart. Considering that Manny is 13 or 14 feet tall, and can't even surpass Rudy's ankles, Rudy would be more than 120 feet when standing fully upright and around 360 feet long. As for weight, he's more than 100 tons because he's definitely heavier than 10 Mannies. He's an extremely aggressive animal, behaving like the Sharptooth in The Land Before Time, in that he goes through so much effort and energy just to catch something that wouldn't even give him back 10% of the calories he just lost trying to catch them. Considering what Buck is able to do to every other animal no matter the size, him trolling Rudy should be expected. And even he had to be saved by Diego when Rudy launched him into the air. That brings me on to the next point. He can hold a grudge. The guy was just about to have some mammoth steaks but let it go in order to settle a beef he had with the weasel that took his tooth. In terms of status, he is the top predator where he lives, with nothing else able to contend with him. Even Mama T-Rex shows fear when she hears his roar or even senses him. The only reason he was defeated was because he got jumped. The T-Rex had to get a running start and then push him off a cliff by surprise so he couldn't even react. If it was a full-blown fight, he would have disrespected her more than the Spinosaurus did to the T-Rex in Jurassic Park 3. Even when he was pushed off a cliff and fell more than 1,000 feet, he survived and ended up reunited with Buck, seemingly as a sort of ally, because I highly doubt a weasel that weighs less than 5 pounds is controlling an animal that approaches a blue whale in terms of weight. He is fast, intelligent, and has enough durability to shrug off most heavy artillery. Definitely one of the largest carnivores to ever be shown on our TVs, but that means nothing when compared to a dinosaur that's in an anime. Okay, so let's get this out of the way. I'm just going to use the strongest dinosaur in this show because almost all of them can beat every other character from this list except for Barney. So just one dinosaur from Dinosaur King will be mentioned, and that is of course the Black T-Rex. Before you see the Dark Pteranodon or Pterosaur, 1. A pterosaur isn't a dinosaur, and 2. That thing isn't a pterosaur, more like a phoenix or something. The Black T-Rex was created by Seth, who wanted a world where dinosaurs could live in present day, and found a way to travel to the future too. Not just the past. He took an almost perfect T-Rex skeleton and made a bunch of enhancements to it, which made it more powerful than the real thing. Second or third strongest dinosaur in the show, Terry was absolutely terrified of this guy. He not only has upgraded abilities, but is almost 3 times bigger than Terry. Even as our red boy throws out one of his strongest attacks at the Black T-Rex, it has no effect. Even Chomp and the other dinosaurs make a run for it when they realize this guy wasn't fazed by the attack. Before that, Chomp, while being charged up, pierced the Abomination's neck and it just swatted and chucked him off. Even when the guy basically goes for a stroll in the city, he destroys a good portion of it. The wind from his tail swipe alone sends all the dinosaurs into the air, and he's able to kick others like Ronaldo does a football. It took the combined attacks of some of the strongest dinosaurs in the series like the Saurophaganax, Chomp, Terry, etc. to put him down. He has his own attacks, including a giant fireball that would be perfect for the Here Comes the Sun song, and could summon an entire meteorite if he wants, at least in the games. Even as all of the strongest dinosaurs are charged up and produce this single attack, it takes 3 of these to finally put him down. I personally see the Black T-Rex scaling as planetary or small star level at his max, but I hear a good amount of people saying that he's multiversal, and I'll admit I'm not quite sure why that is. It may be due to the fact that the power of the element stones along with the combined attacks of all the other dinosaurs were able to damage something like him, which requires an unfathomable amount of energy to destroy. If that's the case, let me know, because other than that, I can't see how he scales to multiversal, because that isn't a small feat. One universe alone is something I think a lot of people can't comprehend, so being compared to multiple at a power level is impressive. But like I said, if you have any information pertaining as to why some scaling is that high, let me know in the comments. With that said, I kind of feel bad after he was defeated. The dude was basically made by Seth as an instrument for battle and nothing else. He doesn't have any complex emotions like the other dinosaurs that can express themselves. All he does is follow orders. Regardless, being strong enough to the point where your lowest scaling is planetary is an unmatched feat in itself. The last dinosaurs are nowhere as high in scaling, but are the 2 biggest crash outs you'll ever see on screen. I couldn't decide between either of the 2 because they both are the biggest crash outs when it comes to dinosaurs, so I just had to mention them both. The first one we'll be covering is the OG Sharptooth, the first and still to this day strongest Sharptooth ever, despite many more being shown after 20 years. The guy jumped into a field of thorns that were bigger than a steak knife to eat some baby dinosaurs and then fought a sauropod. This 18+ ton menace jumped more than 100 feet onto the adult sauropod's back and tore into it like a raptor. When he's hit into a large rock wall, instead of just turning around and walking away, the guy starts headbutting the thing and reduces it to rubble. Then he demolished some rock structures that even an Apatosaurus couldn't get out of. One of his biggest feats was him falling almost a mile down and crashing onto the ground while having tons of debris fall on him. Even after that, he still managed to survive. The guy woke up and without even trying, destroyed a stone pillar when Sarah woke him up. He didn't show any signs of pain or internal damage, he just got up and was ready to continue his hunt for the baby dinosaurs. Do you know just how much of a menace you have to be to throw a temper tantrum because you weren't able to eat something that would be the equivalent of you or me eating a cheese ball? The OG Sharptooth has the most powerful skull of anything in that universe, more than Mr. Treehorns, who is a Triceratops by the way. He constantly smashes his head into rocks and destroys them. And near the end, as Petrie was taunting him, he hit a cliff so hard that it shook and made Petrie fall down. Now that's just some of his crazy destructive output. I don't think I've seen another dinosaur do something like that yet. The guy was basically immortal at a certain extent, but the one thing he couldn't survive was drowning. Yup, as he was temporarily knocked out by the boulder, he didn't wake up in time and went to a watery grave. The only other dinosaur capable of even remotely matching this guy was the infected sauropod from Primal. After it got bitten by a syphilis-ridden Parasaurolophus, the infection spread to the Argentinosaurus and made it hyper-aggressive, and granted the animal infinite stamina and made it numb to pain of any sort. The sauropod slaughtered the entire herd in the most gruesome of ways, without any sort of trouble. Eventually, when Spear and Fang come across the massacre, they were horrified. But soon their faces changed when they came to the realization that the entity that caused all of this was standing up right behind them. The animal cleared a good patch of forest, destroying any trees or rocks in its path, and at the end jumped off a cliff and splattered on the ground. It didn't die though, it just let out a war cry for losing Spear and Fang, and then went to sleep. It did wake up after the two tried to sneak away though. It either has super hearing because even I barely heard anything, or this virus or whatever it is can sense when living uninfected creatures are nearby, and the sole mission is to spread the infection to as many other hosts as possible. So another chase ensues, and eventually the thing gets its rib stuck between the valley's wall. Didn't stop it in the slightest. The animal just tore the flesh from its ribcage and bolted for spang and fear. It churned up an entire solid lava lake. Even after its skin and internal organs are being burnt out, it still tries to get those two. In the end, it literally got burnt to ashes after it couldn't get out in time, and instead of happiness, Spear and Fang showed sorrow for the animal, because I think they knew it wasn't the sauropod itself that was doing this, but rather the infection that led the animal to destroy anything in its path, in search of a host, even if it meant the current host perishing itself. So that's just about it for this one, guys. I can't remember who were the people who suggested this, but thank you. Alright, I know that there's possibly some people who know dinosaurs that are stronger, and if they are actually stronger and an actual dinosaur, not a kaiju or anything like that, I'll do a part 2. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.